Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers, and I'm here to give you my 2025 predictions. You guys know by now, watching me, I make a lot of predictions. I even earned the nickname Black Stradamus. All right, let's be honest. I gave myself that nickname, but still, I make a lot of predictions, and not all of them are right, thank God. And not all of them are wrong. So some of the predictions I made last season, I'll get into those, and I'll make predictions on the record for the 2025 season. We'll get into it. But before we do that, let's thank our sponsor for my prediction show, our friends over at Allegiant Digital. Did you know that among the top 9 challenges business owners face, the most difficult ones include finding customers, increasing brand awareness, digital advertising, and lead generation? What if I could point you to a local, homegrown agency right here in Austin, Texas, that could solve those problems for your business once and for all? For over 25 plus years, folks, Allegiant Digital Marketing founder and CEO Chad Markham, a UT grad, an instructor of the Digital Marketing Bootcamp here at the University of Texas at Austin, has helped thousands of businesses overcome these challenges. So take advantage of their Hook 'em Horn special and save up to $2,500. That's right, $2,500 in advertising. Just visit allegiantdigital.com/ontexasfootball. That's allegiantdigital.com/ontexasfootball to learn more today. We appreciate our friends over at Allegiant Digital. By the way, let me spell that for you. ALLEGIANT Digital, DIGITAL.com. Remember, /on-Texas-football, and you can get a really nice discount from my friends over at Allegiant Digital. All right. Very thankful for them for being sponsors of On Texas Football and sponsoring our prediction show. First one that I've done. It may be the last one, depending on how many of these predictions I get right. I know last year I made some predictions, and honestly, a few of them came to fruition and made me probably a little overconfident to do this show. Remember, I predicted the NASCAR package. I said they got to have a NASCAR package. You got such depth at defensive end. Got to throw all those guys out there at one time on predictable passing downs. That's exactly what they did. Had a NASCAR package. Kind of saw that coming with Johnny Nansen and all the exotics he was bringing in from Arizona. They also had a dime package. I said, hey, man, you got to start having a dime package. You got depth at defensive back. Bring it in more with Makuba. How about a dime package? Had the dime package. I predicted more single high for the first time since PK has been the defensive coordinator at Texas. They ran more single high coverage with one deep safety, middle of the field closed, and they had middle of the field open with 2 deep safeties. That was more of that Johnny Nansen influence as well. I predicted an expanded circle of trust for the wide receivers. I said you'd have at least 6 games where you'd have a different leading receiver. That actually came to fruition as well. Talked about those exotics that Johnny Nansen was going to bring to the table, and then he had the big nickel. We talked about the NASCAR, the dime package, had a 3D tackle package. I also said if Jahdae Barron was going to win the Thorpe, you had to promote him as the most versatile defensive back in the country. He's still being promoted as that, as a first-round prospect in the NFL draft. Now, I wasn't right all the time. I was wrong. I think the leading receiver, I was way off. I think I picked Jonte Cooks. I was way off on that. I think the leading rusher, I think I got that one wrong as well. I thought they'd run more Big 11, Big 12 package with the 6 offensive linemen. Dead wrong on that one. They ran 0 snaps of the Big 11, Big 12. So not always right, but not always wrong. So probably about 50-50. Let's see how we do here with these 2025 predictions. All right, let's start on offense. All right, I go first. I think this is an obvious one. The deep ball rate will increase. There's no question about it. Sark has already said it. Sark was on with Colt McCoy and said, some of the things he observed with Arch Manning. He said we saw athleticism that probably surprised a lot of people. And he said, B, his ability to throw the deep ball. And he said this, quote, the deep ball in our offensive system has a tremendous importance to take advantage of the one-on-one opportunities. And that's what I think Texas, and I said they've been missing it the last few years with Quinn Ewers, but it definitely wasn't a strength of Quinn. And we're pointing to it maybe being a strength of Arch Manning. And I've always said, chicks dig the long ball, and so does Arch. His deep ball rate, guys, 21.1% last season. Michael Penix in 2023 led all of college football. He's one of the national leaders in deep ball rate, and he was at 21%. Remember, Texas played in the Sugar Bowl. Remember, they used to love going deep because they had just great group of wide receivers, and Michael Penix had a fantastic arm to be able to maximize those targets down the field. If Arch has that ability, you could be looking at a different type of Texas offense. His ADOT, average depth of target, 11.1 in 2024. His yards per attempt, 10.4 in 2024. By the way, Jackson Dart led all of college football in yards per attempt at 10.8 last season. So, hey, he's going downfield. Deep ball rate will increase. Also, I think you're going to get more. I need to get more gap schemes, more gap man-to-man blocking schemes in the run game. I saw this and actually kind of it blew me away. There have only been 2 running backs. Since Sark has been the coach here at Texas and, of course, the play caller offensively that have ended the season with more gap runs than zone runs, because Texas is mostly a zone running team. Usually between 50 to 55%, they're going to be a zone running team, and then the rest, of course, are gap schemes. This season, they were probably around 52% zone running, but at the last 7 games of the season, they were close to being a 60% zone running scheme, running a lot of that outside zone, as we've talked about over and over again. Cedric Baxter and Jerry Gibson. Cedric Baxter in 2023, of course, he didn't play in 2024, and Jerry Gibson in 2024. They're the only 2 running backs who have ended the season with more gap scheme runs than zone blocking runs. All right, in the season. To me, that's a trend. You're going trending. I think if CJ Baxter stayed healthy, you probably would have saw that trend continue in 2024. CJ Baxter told me personally that in high school, they ran more of a gap power scheme than they did zone blocking scheme. So he's actually learning to be a zone runner, and he's going to be a damn good one at that. But I think Texas wants to run more gap power schemes. By the way, a young offensive line, which Texas has, replacing four starters, lends itself to more man-to-man gap power schemes because it's just simpler. There's so much complexity and nuance when you're running a zone blocking scheme that maybe with a younger offensive line, just make it simple for them. Go block that dude right there. All right? Go maul that guy right there in front of you. Those will come to your gap power schemes. Also, if you go look at it, the strength maybe of the offensive line last season, on the last few seasons, has been the tackles, because you got 3 NFL tackles that'll be drafted after this upcoming draft that you've played with since Sark has been here, and maybe you're just running to your strength. A lot of people believe that the strength of the offensive line this year could be in the interior, and if you're running to that strength, maybe that's more of a downhill running scheme. We shall see. Just only a prediction of mine, but I do think you're trending toward being more gap power. Now, if you are more of a gap power scheme next year with a healthy CJ Baxter and maybe a more trustworthy Jerry Gibson, if that is indeed the case, you could potentially be even 50-50 or be, for the first time ever, more of a gap power scheme running running team than being a zone blocking running team in the run game. That's never happened since Sark has been on campus. He's always a zone blocking, kind of a zone run system. But we shall see this year with different personnel, could that change? I do think overall, though, the run game will just be drastically better. Health of the running back room and the infusion of a dual threat quarterback. No doubt about it, which we'll get to here in a second. And that's analytically proven, anecdotally proven that a dual threat quarterback changes the math, forces you to have to account for him, and also boosts the running game, adds juice to the running game. Speaking of the running game, another prediction, and I've been talking about this one for a while too, the scramble, which is right now easily one of the best cheat codes in football. In the NFL in 2023, your average yards per scramble was higher than your average yards per pass. Right, so that to me says that it may be the most efficient, most effective play in football. Go look at the final 8 teams in the NFL playoffs this past season. 6 of the 8 starting quarterbacks of those teams were top 10 in scramble rates in the NFL. That is not a coincidence. The final 4 all were in the top 10 in scramble rate. It's a cheat code, and Texas has been missing that cheat code the last few years. Now, the scramble rate for Arch and for Quinn, I think it'll both be probably below 4%. He's not going to be encouraged by his uncles or Sark to scramble, but he's going to be more effective as a scrambler. He averaged 14 yards per scramble this past season. Quinn was at 7. Just a very big difference in the effectiveness of the scramble. So he may not scramble more, but I think he'll be way better at it. And that'll open up, I think, the Texas offense in critical situations to improve with the design quarterback run and with scrambles. I think you'll improve the red zone and third down offense, which are 2 critical areas where Texas has been lacking the last few years. Just having that cheat code, I think, will help you tremendously in those areas. All right. Still on the offensive side of the ball, almost done with offense. Tight end position is a bit uncertain. You got The Jordan Washington injury they're dealing with. You don't return any help. The only reception you return in tight end position is Malik Agbo. Man, CJ dropped that nugget the other day. If that is indeed the case, I'm predicting there'll be other personnel groupings that will have to supplement for 12 personnel. Now, 1 back, 2 tight ends, which is 12 personnel, is Sark's second favorite personnel grouping. He himself says tight end, second most important position in his offense behind the quarterback. But the kind of the Kim Kardashian, Nicki Minaj, Serena Williams size, Cardi B size, Megan Thee Stallion size. But here is, this year, I don't know if you have the trusted, proven commodities at tight end. Now, the last time there was uncertainty at tight end for Sark, he supplemented with the 6-0 line package. That was in 2022 and in 2023. And he said it was because of the depth at tight end. That was the reason that he used a lot of that 6-0 line package. So I'm predicting this year, because 12% is always the second most important or second most utilized personnel grouping for Sark. 11 personnel is actually usually 50%. All right. You can always between 50 and 55% of Sark's reps are going to be in 11 personnel, 1 back, 1 tight end. And he goes to it most of the time. If he needs a big third down, you'll see him in 11 personnel. That's his baby. That's always going to be half the offense. He lets the other kind of 45%. He gets creative with that. And in 2022, it was with the Big 11, Big 12. You were a little around 15% of your personnel groupings were in Big 11, Big 12. In 2022, you were close to 10% in 2023. You didn't run any of it in 2024. The pony package also is something I think you'll supplement it with. Pony package has decreased in usage. Last year, you had so many injuries. You were around 6% pony package. 2023, you were around 7%. 2022, you loved it because you were double-digit usage of the pony pack, double-digit percentage usage of the pony package in 2022 because you had Rojo and Bijan. All right. So you had, elite talent back there. So you were using it more. It's still been really, really effective. So I think without the proven commodities or the uncertainty at tight end, maybe less 12 personnel is what I'm predicting for next year. And last year you were around 37, 38%, I believe, somewhere around there in your 12 personnel usage. And you ran pony about 7%. So you were probably 55, close to 56% of the time you were in 11 personnel. You were in 35% 12 personnel in 2023. I think you were around 25% 12 personnel in 2022. I think you may drop back down to close to 30% of 12 personnel usage just because you don't have the proven commodities and you don't really know right now who your Spencer Shannon's the inline tight end, but largely unproven. We haven't seen him. Jordan Washington dealing with an injury. That way we may disrupt his development, and the rest of those guys in that room are really young. So that's what I'm predicting at tight end. You may decide to emphasize deeper positions on offense and other personnel groupings to supplement for the lack of experience and proven commodities at tight end. All right, let's go defense real quick. Defense. All right, defensive side of the ball. This is now it's an interesting prediction because at one point I was really confident in this prediction, and now I'm just kind of confident in this prediction. I think you'll have 2 defenders with double-digit sacks. Last time it happened for Texas, I believe 2013, you got to go back to Jackson Jeffcoat and Cedric Reed. Remember that pairing? They had double-digit sacks on the edge. Not easy to do, but Texas with Colin Simmons, it's to me, even though he's going to get double-teamed a lot, if he gets more reps, and he'll get a lot more reps as a starter this year than he was last year as a guy that was a rotational player, I think he'll get you double-digit sacks. He's just too damn talented. The BGO is elite in passing situations. At times, he seems unblockable unless you're just going to hold him. So he'll get double-digit sacks. I'm almost sure of it. I'd bet money on it. The other player I'm bet is Anthony Hill. Trey Moore finished the season really hot last year and started making a lot of those splash plays. But right now there's talk about Trey Moore not only cross-training, but getting a lot of reps at linebacker. Don't know what the plan is to utilize him. That's one of my biggest questions so far this spring. So Anthony Hill, who had 8 sacks last year, he had 5 as a freshman. He's your second best natural pass rusher on the team, arguably, ahead of Trey Moore and right behind Colin Simmons. Even Sark said he's among your top pass rushers on the team. So to me, I would say Anthony Hill's my bet to get double-digit sacks. This is the you try to maximize him. They'll have more exotic packages. You should utilize him on the edge as much as you can as a pass rusher in predictable passing situations. I would say that if you had two guys with double-digit sacks that would threaten Texas getting the all-time sack record at Texas, which I think is 47, and they tied it last year. I just think that may be tough just because you're going to lose guys on the inside who are really good pass rushers like Broughton and Collins. There are injury concerns with guys like Bostic on the outside too. Don't know what kind of leap they're going to end up taking. So I'll stay away from that prediction, but I will say you're going to get two defenders with double-digit sacks, and I think it'll be Colin Simmons. I think it'll end up being Anthony Hill, my best bet. But it could be Trey Moore. If Trey Moore just ends up, really being effective in those NASCAR packages or in those third and mediums, those third and long situations where I think they may put him back on the edge if he ends up at linebacker. But let's move on. The second thing I'll say here, I think you get more 3 safety packages. Well, we know you're going to get that with Jelani McDonald because he's a safety and he's going to play at times. Remember the big nickel they introduced last year? Big nickel is just a 3 safety defense instead of those 3 corners being in your nickel package. You put 3 safeties. So you're going to see more of Jelani McDonald. I think you got probably 3 starter players, 3 starter caliber players at safety between Jelani McDonald, between Michael Taft, Derek Williams. Who knows what Phil Same is going to look like this spring. So I think, honestly, you have too much depth at safety not to utilize it. So I think even in some of your dime packages, they may go with 3 safeties in the dime package. So I think you're going to see more personnel groupings, more exotic personnel groupings with extra safeties on the field, not including, obviously Jelani McDonald's a big part of that, but maybe even in some of your sub packages on defense. Also, I think you'll see more 3 high. Now, 3 high and 3 safeties, just because you got 3 safeties on the field doesn't necessarily make you a 3 high defense. Jelani McDonald came down and played the nickel. He was a big nickel, just another safety playing that star position. But 3 high essentially is more of a coverage philosophy that you're going to play with 3 high safeties. And one of those safeties will a lot of times invert, all right, to the second level and become either a rover or become a hole player, whatever it may be. We see it a lot. We saw it with Ohio State and Caleb Downs. When Texas played Ohio State, they actually played a lot of those inverted looks, inverted Tampa looks. And Texas used the 3 high principles last year with their nickel package and with their sub package. They went 3 high a lot of the times. And we saw them, of course, go with 3 safety package with their big nickel. So they did it last year. And I think you'll see more of it this year because your safeties just, to me, you have an embarrassment of riches there. One of your deepest positions on the team. All right. Number 3, I think you'll go with more man coverage. You guys have heard me talk about it. It only makes sense, right? Last year, you were 117th in press coverage rate, 113th in man coverage rate. When you played better quarterbacks in the playoffs, I mean, they were able to expose you only because your coverages were somewhat predictable because they knew you weren't going to play man, they knew you weren't going to play press, and they knew you weren't going to blitz. And so I think Texas wants to throw in a little bit more variety when they face better quarterbacks because last year you faced dog-ish quarterbacks in the regular season. Sark's quote, by the way, from 2 years ago, he's on the record saying, we want to play more man coverage. We want to be a man coverage team. The problem with that is it's hard to play man coverage, hard to find a type of athletes that can play man consistently. Now, I'm not saying they want to play man 50% of the time. They still want to play largely match coverage, pattern match coverage. But I think instead of being a 15% man coverage team, they want to bump that to maybe 25% of the time they can play man coverage. And I think if you look at the additions they've made to the staff, Mark Orthe coming from Rutgers. Rutgers was in 2023 top 10 in man coverage rate. 2024, they were 80th percentile or higher in man coverage rate. Max Melton, cornerback drafted out of Rutgers in 2023. He had 45% man coverage rate. That was the second highest man coverage rate in the class. Arizona, where Coach Akina's coming from last year, where he was a defensive coordinator, they were actually among 85th percentile in man coverage rate, in cover 1, I should say, last season. So they ran a lot of cover 1. When I played under Coach Akina at Texas, we were mostly a man coverage team, actually press man coverage team most of the time. So I think that they're going to, like I said, they're going to be mostly man coverage, but they're going to play more of it than they have in previous seasons. Only makes sense. And my last prediction is you're going to see more NASCAR. Oh, you're going to see more NASCAR. It was just such a success that there's no way now they're not going to try to make it a mainstay or make it a vital piece of their defensive DNA. They have to. Just give you the quick numbers on the NASCAR package last year. You only ran it for around 16, it's like 16 to 17% of your defensive plays. Your havoc rate, over 30%. Your havoc rate in the last 7 games in the NASCAR was actually over 32%. 41% of your sacks came out of the NASCAR package, 38% of your fumbles, 66% of your fumble recoveries, 22% of your interceptions came out of the NASCAR package, and you only played it 17% of the time. You got to find a way to get in that NASCAR package. Matter of fact, if you look at Barron Sorrell, Trey Moore, and Colin Simmons, 75% of those guys' sacks, their combined sacks, came in the NASCAR package. It was filthy. It was they should call it the nasty NASCAR. It was filthy. And they played it mostly just on 3rd and long, right? Third and long, 3rd and 6, 3rd and medium, 3rd and long. They would play it, and I think the conversion rate on 4th down and 3rd and long is around 17% versus Texas NASCAR package. So they're going to run more than NASCAR package. All right. Enough of me rambling and making predictions. I'll probably make more, but who knows? I'm just hoping to get more of them right than I got wrong. All right. So thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate you. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes. He's a real MVP. Thank you to Allegiant Digital as well. We appreciate them. Go to Allegiant Digital / Texas Football, and you'll get all the marketing help you need from our friends at Allegiant Digital. For Matthew, for friends at Allegiant Digital, I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns.